if you're struggling to generate leads to social media marketing and you're the type of person who has 101 different ideas for how to generate leads, different campaign ideas, different social ideas, and you're always kind of changing your strategy every 6 weeks, then this video is definitely for you. So the solution to this is simple. It's simple to say, but it's certainly not simple to actually execute on. And hopefully I can help with both. So the solution, ultimately, if you're in this boat, right, where you're struggling to get leads, things are really inconsistent because you just keep changing direction, you keep changing ideas. What you actually need is consistency. Now, this won't be a surprise, obviously. I mean, I hope it's not a surprise. But let me explain things kind of a layer deeper as to why consistency is super key, but also how to kind of change your perspective when it comes to testing campaigns and testing social media ideas and angles, podcast ideas, all this different stuff, right? You need to be looking at the data like a scientist. And what I mean by this is you need to be cool, calm, and collected. But when it comes to reviewing the data, there are two really common paths that people tend to kind of go towards. Either they'll look at the data and say it's underperforming and it's been quite inconsistent. They'll almost block out what's going not so right, and they'll just focus on what is going right, but completely ignore the massive fire, happening underneath the positive looking KPIs, which are most likely fluff metrics anyway, because secretly your campaign is getting really, really, really expensive. That's one way that people like to look at the data, and obviously making decisions from that place, those decisions aren't going to be very good. Or they'll get super emotional kind of with the data, right? It'll be just a couple days in, they'll open up LinkedIn ads or Meta ads or whatever, and they'll start panicking because things aren't working. You've got a really high CPC, high CPM, low CTR, no leads have come through yet. And this panic turns into immediate action, because this is something that's also, I think, put on a pedestal kind of amongst entrepreneurs, right? It's taking like immediate action on every single thing. The problem with that, though, is you aren't being a scientist. You're not actually running a test properly. Just because the data doesn't look good within a couple of days, maybe even within a couple of weeks, doesn't necessarily mean that you should actually change everything unless you're reading that data from a very sound place, basically. You need to be calm, cool, collected when things are going wrong. And you need to be really objective and logical about what next steps need to then actually happen and in what time frames, still allowing time for things to turn around. I'll give you an example, especially if you're the type of person who jumps into their ads every few days and is making changes and wonders why there's no performance. There was one LinkedIn campaign that we ran for one of our clients, and this campaign we ran for 6 months. The first 2 weeks, we had pretty poor performance, right? The CTR was maybe around, it was less than 1%, I don't know, 0.7, 0.8, somewhere around there. Our cost per click was also really high. It was £7-8 or so, somewhere around there. I remember it just being a bit under £10. And obviously, when it's been 2 weeks, you come and you look at your LinkedIn ad campaign and you see these kind of metrics, and obviously no leads have come in as well through this period. And you've already spent half of the month's budget, it's easy to start panicking and start making loads of rash decisions. But what we decided to do was just give it more time. It'd been 2 weeks on a not so much a fresh ad account, but spend certainly wasn't high previously on the ad account. We're talking maybe £4,000 or £5,000 spent over like a 2-3 year period. And we decided to change absolutely nothing. We left that campaign with terrible front-end metrics. It's already spent half the budget. We left it running. And the interesting thing is that campaign, over a 6-month period, generated 281 director-level MQLs, of which I believe 200, or was it 180, became director-level SQLs, with a 7.3% CTR averaged for the 6 months, and a cost per click of, I believe it was like 84 pence as well, averaged for the 6 months. That was one of the best campaigns that we have ever ran. And the problem is, if we had gotten super emotional about things and not given it the time, we wouldn't have that as a case study. We wouldn't have delivered those kind of results to our client if we just switched it off or started adding in new creatives, switching off the old ones, or being like, oh, we actually just need to set up like a whole new fresh campaign, redo all the audience targeting. Like, sometimes when it comes to ads, the best thing to do is wait. Now, obviously, there are some, nuances to this. For example, if you're running ads on Meta, and it's been 2 weeks and you've got really bad front-end KPIs, and your watch frequency is really high, like it's above 3, like it's a 3.22 watch frequency rate, right? For example. And you've only been running these ads for a couple of weeks. Yeah, look, turn them off. Turn them off. Like, you've hit a point of creative fatigue. You need fresh creators in there. You need to turn those ads off. That's the other thing with this whole viewing things as a scientist when it comes to paid ads, right? Is, one, it needs time. You need patience. You need to be cool, calm, collected. But also, when it does come to making decisions around how you're going to solve the problem, right? How you're going to fix this bottleneck and improve the performance of a campaign, after already giving it ample time and collecting a solid amount of data to really understand what's actually going on, you then need to lay out your plan of action like a scientist. Start with the most probable, likely change that's going to drive impact, and slowly, one by one, work down the list. So say you do have terrible front-end KPIs. First place to start is creative, right? So you start with the creative. You ensure, you get new ads made, ensuring that the hook is super strong. The body clearly communicates the pain points, the solution, with then a really clear CTA at the end of the ad. And then you run the test, you give it time, you review the data, and if performance is about the same, or there's like a slight uplift, but no leads are still coming through, then let's look at the next thing. Let's look at where we're sending them. Are we sending them to a lead gen form? If so, what are the fields in that form? Are we sending them to a landing page? If so, what's happening there on the landing page? Now, obviously, the landing page, you can collect way more data. So I do always recommend sending traffic to a landing page, because you can then have tools like Clarity installed where you can literally watch how people react to your landing page, how they behave on the page. And yeah, depending on what that data shows, then you can, say it is a landing page you have, and you go and you look at the data on Clarity and you see that everyone sees the VSL at the top and they press play on it. But between 10 to 15 seconds, everyone then just like clicks off the page. Okay, well, the problem is clearly the VSL. Like, there is either some kind of mismatch between the ad that they've seen and what they're seeing in that content, or it's not engaging enough, or you're not speaking directly to their pain points early enough. Maybe the ad is just poor quality. Maybe say it's a spokesperson in the VSL. Maybe they just have zero enthusiasm and are like the most boring person to listen to. And then on top of that, it's like really low res footage and it's like filmed in their garage or something, yeah, you get the idea. We need to look at paid ads like a scientist. We need to give it ample time, proper set points to actually collect a good amount of data. We don't want to be working off of small data sets. We don't want to be making decisions off of tiny little data sets, from an ad that you've ran for like 5 days. You definitely don't want that. So in terms of then turning off, this kind of ADHD kind of brain, and actually being able to then do this, look at it like a scientist, treat these tests like a scientist, and be cool, calm, and collected throughout the process. It's going to take a real shift internally. Unfortunately, it's going to be one of those things where if you are that person who's always flip-flopping, it's character that then needs addressing. And I'm not here to like give self-improvement advice or anything, right? This channel is a very clear direction, and it's helping B2B owners with their paid ads and their social media organic. But this is quite important because it comes up a lot. I've seen it a lot, and it does stall and disrupt people's disruption all the time, because you've got a founder, a CEO in there making decisions, or even a head of marketing making decisions in a rash way with a small data set, and it's like, yeah, like it's just not going to be good. So it very quickly getting into this stuff, the more mindset stuff, right? The more self-improvement type stuff. Pick something really simple that you can start to build consistency with, that typically takes a long time to see results from. A really easy one is weightlifting, right? Or running, any kind of sport, exercise, activity. But say weightlifting, right? Now, you may already do this, but say you don't. Try going to the gym like 2 times a week for 30 minutes and try and cook at least 1 meal a day, ideally like your dinner, your main meal. And just do your absolute best to stick to that routine of gym twice a week, 1 meal a day. That is cooked, healthy food, nice high protein. And do your best to stick to that for a whole year at least. I mean, ideally your lifetime, right? But try and stick to it for a whole year. I'm pretty sure with that happening in the background in your life, right? A little side mission doesn't take much of your time at all. We're literally talking like an hour in the gym each week and like 3 hours, 3.5 hours cooking a week. So it's not a huge time commitment, but it will start to build that consistency bone, but also start to train your brain for sticking to something and waiting for long-term results. Because that's it's the same thing with paid ads. It's literally like the same thing with fitness. You don't go to the gym and 2 days into going, look in the mirror and go, oh my goodness, I've got no muscle. Why haven't I blown up? Why don't I look like Arnie, or why don't I look like Chris Bumstead already? You know, like why don't I look like Sam Sulek? I've been gymming for 4 weeks now. It's like, should I hop on a cycle? You know, like people start making really stupid decisions. It's the exact same thing with paid ads. You don't do it, you know, run ads for 3 days and then decide we're going to do all these things and jack up the entire campaign and the potential of the campaign. So yeah, that's just like one real quick, simple, practical like takeaway to try and build that consistency bone and that kind of patience and longer term thinking. So yeah, whatever suits, just try and pick something else outside of the business that you can be building consistency in your life with. And importantly, for your ad campaigns, for all your marketing efforts, view it like a scientist. Do your absolute best to just view it like a scientist. So yeah, that's everything from me. A bit of a longer one today. And yeah, look, if you need any further help with your own ad campaigns, say performance isn't going the way that it needs to, there is a link at the top of the description below this video where you can book a call with myself for 30 minutes and we will go through, have a look at your campaigns, your socials, see what's going right, see what's going not so right, and come up with some practical next steps. And of course, if we're a good fit, then we can always discuss what it would look like working together. That's all from me, and I hope you have a good rest of the day. Take care.